I'm going to give folks another minute or so. Looks like Councilmember Marshall's in the audience.
Looks like Deborah's in the audience.
Yep, got him.
All right, Kenmore City Council is now in session. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Here.
Councilmember File,
Present.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Kane,
Present.
Mayor Herbig. Mayor Herbig. Mayor Herbig appears frozen.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Wonderful. I do not see Councilmember Kugler.
I wonder if she's in the executive session already. And it looks like Mayor Herbig is frozen again.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, I will pull up the agenda.
I just messaged Councilmember Kugler to see if she's joining us.
And I'm just waiting for the document to open so I can. So we've done well. So now do we call for approval? Agenda approval?
Yes, you could, but I will note that Councilmember Kugler is also with us.
Oh,
So we
good.
have a full council.
Unfortunately, our Mayor Herbig looks like he's logging in. Should we pause for a moment before agenda approval to see if he can come back in?
Yes, stand by.
Switch over my phone because my home internet has decided to not work nicely tonight. So on the agenda next is approval of the agenda. Unless there's objection, the agenda will stand approved as published. I am not seeing any objections, so the agenda stand approved. Next is an executive session pursuant to RCW 43.30.110B. The City Council will now enter an executive session to discuss real estate acquisition. The session is slated to last approximately 40 minutes. No action is expected. Time is currently 6:04, so we will return no later than 6:44. I will see you all over in the executive session room. We are going to extend our executive session to 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. We're going to extend our executive session to 7:15.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I guess just like you heard, the mayor did announce an extension to the executive session. They are discussing real estate acquisition. It's fully within their prerogative, according to the RCWs, to do that. So we hope to see you in 7:15. Councilmember File?
Hello. Yes, I'm waiting for the rest to come back.
And Mayor Herbig just extended the extension to the meeting until 7:15.
15. All
Mhm.
right. Then
See
I
you
will
then.
hold. All right. Thank you.
Welcome back, Mayor. Welcome back, council members.
Thank you. All right, it looks like everybody is here. So we're coming out of executive session. No action is being taken. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. And next on the agenda is the study session. A presentation on Plymouth Housing affordable housing proposal presented by Assistant City Manager Stephanie Lucash and partners from Plymouth Housing. Ms. Lucash.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, members of the council. We're excited tonight to bring to you the partners that we all heard about last week. We've been just over a week partnership officially with the Plymouth Housing Group. And as we left off last week, when we shared the update of our partnership, we wanted to give you an opportunity to learn more information about the Plymouth proposal, to have an opportunity to ask questions, to learn more about the Plymouth Housing Group's history and their deep expertise in affordable housing. So we have with us tonight members of that team. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to them and let them share. We have some slides to share and some other materials to share with you tonight. So I think I'll first start with Karen Peterson. Welcome to the whole team.
Thank you. And it's really great to be here again this evening. So I just want to start out by thanking you for the opportunity to share Plymouth's mission, the importance of permanent supportive housing and preventing and ending homelessness, Plymouth's dedication to its residents, and an overview of the proposed project and building design. I don't want to gloss over the picture in this first slide. It exemplifies the degree to which Plymouth staff care about our residents. I hope that you will see and feel that sincerity reflected in some of the other pictures as we talk about Plymouth's residents, staff, and this very project. This leads to Plymouth's mission. For 40 years, Plymouth has ended homelessness one person at a time. We provide permanent supportive housing to people who've experienced chronic homelessness. We operate 15 buildings in Seattle, which are home to about 1,100 residents a year. Plymouth works to eliminate homelessness and address its causes by preserving, developing, and operating safe, quality, supportive housing, and by providing homeless adults with opportunities to stabilize and improve their lives. Plymouth offers our residents a home without asking them to prove that they're ready for it. This is rooted in the Housing First model. Stable housing transforms lives. Without a home, people cannot access assistance they need to address a challenge that may have led them to the life on the streets. At Plymouth, we lower the barriers to our housing so that they have an opportunity to succeed. We support this by making the move into their new home as easy as possible. We empower our residents by offering them services, ensuring them we are here when and if they need us. Lastly, we provide opportunities for growth that is based on each person's individual needs. Addressing and preventing homelessness requires a continuum of care system. The elements of the system are essential in order to provide holistic and comprehensive care. Plymouth Housing specializes in permanent supportive housing. When residents have long-term permanent housing with services, they are better able to move forward with their lives and avoid the costly and often very traumatic experience of emergency approaches to housing. Permanent supportive housing is just that. It is not time limited, it is not transitional housing, and it is not a shelter. Residents sign a lease and know that they don't have to worry about where they will be the next night, in a week, in a month, or how they will merely survive. They can finally exhale and know they have housing surrounded by people who care about them. Plymouth Housing's model of permanent supportive housing, coupled with wraparound supportive services, including nursing and behavioral health, gives residents a solid footing they need to rebuild their lives and leave homelessness behind. Plymouth's housing model and its compassion and commitment to the dignity of our residents has resulted in 97% of Plymouth residents succeeding in maintaining permanent housing and leaving homelessness behind. And now I will turn it over to Elizabeth Murphy.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm Elizabeth Murphy, and I'm a real estate developer at Plymouth Housing, and I'll be working on this project, and I'm just thrilled to be here. I wanted to talk a little bit about our community outreach strategy. This is something that Plymouth really focuses a lot of time and energy on. I would say that we go above and beyond a lot of other housing providers because we feel it is essential to set our residents up for success to ensure that the community is really behind the building and our residents. To do this, our plan right now, this is something we've done at previous projects, is to send postcards to the surrounding neighbors. Usually we do so within like a 500-foot radius, inviting them to 3 virtual meetings that Plymouth Housing will host. These are some potential topics. First, we would do an introduction to Plymouth, similar to the presentation that we're providing tonight. Second, we would go into further detail about our operations and services. And 3, we would talk a little bit more about our building design, as well as taking any other questions that folks might have. We've also talked to the project team to create a dedicated project webpage on both Plymouth's website as well as the City of Kenmore's website with similar information so that people know where to go to find further information, as well as a frequently asked questions document that folks can refer to throughout the process. This is something, again, that we have done previously. For example, our Eastgate project in Bellevue, we did a similar plan and it was extremely successful. We had a really great turnout on those virtual meetings, and we have all of that documented on a webpage that people can revisit whenever they want more information. Now I'm going to turn it over to Yi Zhao to talk more about our building operations and services.
Hi, I'm E. I am the Chief Asset Management Officer with Plymouth. So I oversee kind of our property management operations, maintenance, and compliance, which is timely as we talk a bit about what we're proposing for the Kenmore Supportive Housing site. For our population, we're really looking at 100% of our building at 30% or less of the area median income. So it's a lot of individuals who are kind of at that poverty line or below. We're going to be working towards this being a senior project. So senior being 55 and older. We would like to try to house veterans, disabled individuals, and formerly homeless individuals. And this all kind of comes into play later. Elizabeth will talk more a bit about the design, but we kind of had this population in mind as we designed and as we submitted our original proposal here. One of the things that's really important to us, and this is how we have developed and how we have worked, is that we want to be a part of the community. So for us, it's looking at who are we housing and how can we house the community where we develop. So we try to leverage some of our existing partnerships. We're working with Sophia Way and Congregations for the Homeless for our Eastgate project. We're hoping that they could be some good partners here in Kenmore too. We're working with Uplift Northwest. We're looking at potential partnerships with Hope Link, Urban League, Housing Connectors. For us, it's always, like I said, it's important for us to be able to house the people of where we are developing. So we're always looking for local referral partnerships. And one of our goals as we go into this project, and would love to be able to have conversations here with City Council about potential ideas around where some agencies or people we can partner with within the city of Kenmore. So our property management team, and we work actually very closely with our real estate development team. This is one of the unique things about Plymouth. Normally, I've worked in property management and it's the development team going, here you go, here's a building. Is that we work together in terms of how we lay out our buildings, from how the building fits into the neighborhood. And then we're looking at things around safety, looking at different access points, the quality. We look at it's a long discussion about materials and color and just everything that goes into what makes a building home for someone. Looking at different energy efficiency options, for us, being sustainable is very important. One of the other things we do, so we're called Plymouth Housing, but we actually have a pretty large commercial portfolio. And when we develop our commercial portfolio, we try to fund it ourselves so that we don't actually have a whole lot of debt service on our commercial, because it gives us the freedom of picking and choosing who our commercial partners are. We have taken a very thoughtful approach, especially in our properties here in Seattle, around trying to partner with kind of mom and pop restaurants. We have a lot of individual restaurants. We've been approached by a few different organizations where we've decided, no, that's not a good fit for our community. That's not a good fit for the neighborhood. And because we don't have debt service, we're not pressured into a bad partnership. We just signed a new lease with Donico Clinic, who provides veterinary service for extremely low income individuals. So, very excited about this and very excited about the potentials that we can have here in Kenmore. This is just kind of a high level view of what our staffing and what kind of our model looks like. You will tend to see a portfolio manager. So Kenmore will be one of their sites. We're still trying to figure out how we structure it. My guess is I'll probably also give them Eastgate. So there'll be kind of that east side. There'll be one single point of contact on some of the property management. We have housing case managers within the building itself. They're really there to help provide services and to help residents stabilize, to help access to food. One of the things we've learned over the last 2 years is food insecurity is still a very big concern for many of our residents. And this is a vital role that our housing case managers play. In all of our buildings, we have a front desk, which is kind of like a concierge service. They help residents with providing, arranging for rides, or if they just need to make a phone call. They're kind of that friendly face, and they're really the face of Plymouth. So everyone who walks into a building as they're going in and out, this is one of the individuals to interact with, and we empower these staff to be able to, like I said, really help and kind of do some of the services that individuals need. We have maintenance techs, we have janitors. For us, is how we upkeep our property and our curb appeal. It's important to me. Like I said, we want to be a part of the neighborhood. So it's really important that we don't stand out in a negative way. So we make a focus on how our buildings look. What's unique for us is also we have nurses. So in all of our buildings, we have partnerships. So these are not nurses that are on Plymouth's payroll, but we do partner with the Neighbor Care, with Harborview, with Swedish, to make sure that we have nursing on site. One of the things over the last probably 5 to 7 years is that our residents have needed more medical care. And I think that this is kind of across the board around the need for medical care. And it's really hard for someone to be able to get to a medical facility, so we bring it to them. And this is some of our design philosophy around looking at potential clinic space, or how can we build a space where we can have on-site nursing. We're currently in the process today of trying to bring on a chief behavioral health officer. We have seen the need to provide more mental health services, and we have struggled, just to be honest, with getting external partnerships. I think a lot of partner organizations are struggling today with this. So Plymouth is making it our own to build this out internally, because we recognize how vital that these services are, and that we're committed to being able to provide them.
Thanks, E. So now the fun part, well, it's all fun, but this is my favorite part, site construction and design. So I'm going to show a few renderings that our fabulous architect Environmental Works put together for this proposal. This is a preliminary design, so this will probably go through many different iterations as we talk to the team here about what the vision is, and also to our internal staff about what our needs are. But as you can see, this is a rendering of what the building might look like once it's complete. You can see that I see there's a question, council member. Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah. How long will these be affordable? How many years?
Well, we enter into covenants that say that we will maintain affordability for up to 55 years. But I can say with fairly a lot of confidence that for as long as they're in Plymouth's portfolio, they will be affordable.
Thank you.
Of course. So as you can see, the facade has protected the big tree on the side of the road there. Got some really nice storefront windows for the commercial space, and wrapping around into the courtyard, which we'll see a little bit more in the next couple slides. So this is the courtyard area that we're super excited about. We really wanted this to be a space that welcomes the community in. And we actually walked around downtown Kenmore when we were thinking up design ideas, and noticed that it's a fantastic place for people to gather, and we wanted to keep that same spirit in this design. So we really envision this being a part of the community space. It kind of joins the commercial area with the facade of the Plymouth area, which is on the right there. And I can just see people, having lunch or taking their book from the library and reading at the tables. And especially for seniors, we find it's really important for them to have amenity space to gather, because as you can imagine, seniors have a lot of mobility issues. They can't get around very easily. So being able to build that community on site is very, very important to us. And we feel that that's a priority that we share with the city of Kenmore, of this really being a community space. So this kind of gets into the first floor design. Typically, as E mentioned, we have a reception area, lobby, where guests and residents are greeted by the front desk staff that are on call for that shift. We will have 2 elevators. I remember someone mentioning that at the last meeting, Plymouth housing buildings always have 2 elevators because a lot of our residents do have disabilities and are mobility impaired. So that's something very important to us. We have a few case management offices where our case managers will work to meet with residents, as you mentioned, helping them get set up with food stamps or just employment opportunities, health services, etc., as well as a nurses station where we will usually contract out with Neighbor Care or another organization to have a nurse on site a few days a week or more. We will have a community room and a kitchen where, we have different events, like, for example, other buildings have open mic nights. And as we're finally kind of getting out of emergency mode of the pandemic, I know that a lot of residents have truly missed gathering and having a meal together. Sometimes we'll have volunteers bring in a meal. People will celebrate birthdays or just hang out and watch TV. It's a great space for people just to gather and be together. So that's kind of the first floor. One of the other things I wanted to point out that is an awesome feature for seniors is this drop-off area we've anticipated, so that people, typically, a lot of seniors have someone pick them up to bring them to appointments, or need to be dropped off closer to the lobby. So there's this nice little drop-off area where people can drive in around this gorgeous tree and be dropped off right next to the lobby. Ooh, keep doing that. So I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but this is a rendering of the second, the upper floors, so second through fifth floors, and it shows the typical layout for 1 bedrooms and studios. We wanted to make sure we had 1 bedrooms available because a lot of our seniors have live-in care, or have a caretaker coming often. So having that extra space is quite nice for them. We also have had some extra space to play with. So our architect put in kind of a lounge area where people could sit, and there will be windows there so they can look out at the tree. And then on level 2, we also have a patio area potentially. So this is kind of how the residential units will be laid out. This is layouts up close of the units. So the 1 bedrooms have, pretty spacious bedroom as well as a living space and a kitchen. Same thing with the studio, just minus the bedroom. I will say it does look small here, but I recently toured one of our newer buildings, and it's very it's the way that they have it laid out makes it very spacious. And the appliances are laid out in a way that makes sense for folks with mobility issues that are mobility impaired. We really try to think about folks that are aging in place. So even if they're not mobility impaired when they move in, they're able to kind of adapt with the space. I see there's a question.
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, with a building of this size, will there be ductless heating and cooling systems for each unit?
That is a great question. Typically, we don't have cooling systems, and I can't answer your question specifically. We haven't really laid out all of the engineering for the building yet. So I can definitely get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great question. Oop. Oop, keep doing that. So this is just kind of showing the elevations. So it's I think it's a 5/1 construction with concrete on the ground floor, and then wood frame on the upper floors. This is kind of how it would look like from across the street. I think it's a Jimmy John's across the street. So this is what it would look like from the Jimmy John's. So just showing the elevations there. One of the other things we noticed in the surrounding buildings was the composite wood siding and kind of that wood feel to the building. So we did include that in our design, wanting to kind of blend in to the surrounding buildings and have a similar feel here. We'll be using fiber cement board as well, just to kind of give it a unique facade. But I think the materials that we have planned here are really going to complement nicely the buildings in the surrounding downtown area. I think that means that was all I had. I won't click to the next one. Great. Well, on behalf of the team, I'm We welcome any questions, and we just thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Questions, comments? Deputy Mayor, did you have your hand up earlier? Or were you trying to get, okay. Nobody's gonna jump in? Okay, Councilmember Marshall, then Councilmember Shrebnick.
Thank you. So did you say that you're definitely going to get behavioral health manager as part of your organization?
Yes, we are. We have an open position. We have a recruiting firm that's working with us who specializes in kind of the healthcare recruiting world, trying to bring an individual on board right now.
Councilmember Shrebnick.
Yeah, a couple questions. One, it's just a point of clarification. I heard 5/1, and then earlier I heard floors 2 through 5, and 5 being the terminal floor. So is it 6 floors or is it 5 floors? So that's question one. And then I'm wondering if you can speak quite a bit more toward the population, the referral sources. I'm not sure how Uplift fits in. I was a little unclear. I know the other organizations, but not them. How many units would be going through coordinated entry? How many do you expect to be directly from homelessness, graduation, senior only? You know, what's kind of the mix there? Because that has ramifications for things like security and the operations staff and all of that.
I will address the first part of your question. So it is 6 floors total. And by 5/1, I just mean that the first floor will be cast in place concrete and the upper floors will be wood frame.
So as of this moment, we do not have a coordinated entry requirement. So this is kind of where we are working with local partners. Uplift Northwest, they used to be called Millionaires Club, where they do kind of day shift janitorial or services. They have a huge need for housing because it's one of their populations is right at that kind of like 30% AMI and below, and they can't stabilize themselves as they're trying to work. That was more of an example. They're one of our referral partners today at what's going to be our Ballard project, which is also kind of the individuals who stabilize to a certain degree already. It's not someone coming straight out of homelessness, but who have had some services or where they don't necessarily need the full intensive services, but they still need some wraparound help. So that's kind of our target population. And I'm being very transparent of that. We would love to work with the city on trying to identify some really good referral partners. Like I said, for us, it's really important that we work within the local community. When we developed in Little Saigon in the International District, we fought with the county to make sure that we could use Asian counseling and referral services as one of our referral partners. That wouldn't be 100% CEA, that we would have local referrals from the community in the building. And like I said, that's one of our big pushes. We're having the same conversation for our Eastgate project of making sure that it's congregations for the homeless who has the shelter in Bellevue and Sophia's Way. So with the way that we have the project structured today around our financing and capital, we don't have coordinated entry, and we're really going to be leaning on community partners and working with different organizations that are local to the area to try to find referrals, referral stream.
That's super helpful. At one point, I think you said you're kind of thinking about it as maybe predominantly senior, and I know that is a big need here. So I mean, yeah, I'll just say that. Thanks.
And that was what was brought to our attention of how big that need is. And so for us, it's going to be having the conversation, like I said, with the community groups and organizations about how we can target these individuals and what they're able to refer to us.
Councilmember File.
Thank you. I was also thinking about your Arch of King County, of course. I know that's one of the partners, and looking at you know, our autism related groups and persons with disabilities. I know there's a large percentage of the population in our surrounding area that can't find housing in this kind of market, let alone this is the the kind of market that they can hit is that 30% and under, right? So I look forward to seeing some healthy outcomes this way. And I'm thinking about, what you're talking about, not necessarily having a coordinated care requirement, but I'm assuming you'll have a case manager on site at some point. And okay, good. And energy efficiency is really important. I can see, living in a tall building myself, and upper floor gets pretty hot really, really quickly, 12 to 15 degrees hotter in our case. And with the climate crisis the way it is, I think ensuring people's health and safety is paramount, and planning for both those really deeply cold months and really hot months that we're now experiencing more regularly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to address that a little bit, that's something that I think industry-wide we're looking at, because we haven't had to provide AC before, like in a lot of multifamily buildings that are just market rate. So that's something we will definitely be looking at, especially with this building being seniors, is finding a cost-effective and energy-efficient way to keep the building as cool as possible in the summer months.
Seniors, veterans, and persons with disabilities, right? So I'm assuming when you say seniors, veterans, and persons with disabilities, you're not necessarily saying only seniors with disabilities.
No. I think what I was referring to is just those folks being more susceptible to heat-related illnesses.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes. This has been very near and dear to me for many years. From the time I worked on the JCC, when I worked on the committee with Councilmember Balducci and co-chaired that. Finding affordable housing below the 30% level aimed at seniors, people with disabilities, and veterans has been something I have pushed for years. And I'm so happy to see Plymouth Housing here. It makes me feel like all of that work that I put in and all the screaming I did on JCC about you're neglecting the 30%, you're neglecting 30% and below. Somebody listened, and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for your participation in this.
Councilmember Marshall.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have asked this earlier, but I have an idea of what a case manager does for housing like this. But could you very briefly just encapsulate so the public knows what does a case manager do for people? Why do these folks need a case manager, and what are they referring them to? Thank you.
So our case managers work with every resident. They all have a caseload. I think we do it alphabetically, but they have a caseload of all the residents where they work with residents on kind of whatever their needs are. We have residents that will come down saying, I need help with substance use. And the case manager will help connect them. They're going to be on the phone with substance use counselors, with Harborview. What's wonderful for us is that because we have such a deep relationship with so many different providers, our case managers are able to go directly to someone to be able to connect our residents. They help with food insecurity. They help with kind of whatever the needs are. We have residents who sometimes need help with financial planning. So they'll come down and work with our case managers on trying to how you set up a budget, how you your Social Security is coming in on the third day of the month. Here's how you set aside some money for rent. Here's how you set aside money for food and for all your other daily life needs. So they're kind of a jack of all trades with kind of helping our residents stabilize, establish some things that to us come naturally in terms of what we think as life skills. But if you haven't had someone teach this to you, you need someone there to provide that level of guidance. So I hope that's broad enough and answers what you were looking for.
Councilmember Kugler.
I just have a comment, and that is, I am so thrilled to see this proposal that you have put forth for us, because I think through all of our discussions, I feel like I'd gotten the impression that we might be lucky to get down to like the 60% AMI or 80% or even 30% of the units being, affordable. And so to see this 100% affordability is phenomenal. So thank you so much. I also feel like, I don't know if this was through research or just by chance, but there were elements of the plan that I think are really fitting for Kenmore. I think the community space is awesome. I think people will really love that. I think saving the tree is huge for our community. So thank you for doing that background research and really thinking about what might fit within Kenmore.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, and I do want to thank you for the beautiful design and commitment to that below 30%. Really wonderful presentation by each of you, and so thankful to welcome you to our community and what you're bringing to us. So I don't have much to say, but I want to at least thank you for the good you're bringing our community and the other communities that you're already in. I mean, your reputation is great, and it's really, truly great knowing organizations like Plymouth Housing exist. So thank you.
And I'd like to reiterate what all my colleagues have said. My jaw hit the floor when we found out last week that we were looking at 100 units at 30% under AMI. That's not what any of us were expecting. I was expecting a mix of 30, 50, and 80, and I would have been happy with that. Getting 100 units at 30% under is a little mind-boggling. And so thank you. And I also do want to really reemphasize what some of my colleagues have said. The fact that in your site plans you submitted that you thought to keep the tree there really gets you extra brownie points, because that was going to be a sticking point if somebody had come in with a site plan that had that tree going, because it's healthy and it's huge, and it provides a lot of needed shade right there. I do have one question, and if it was covered in the materials, I apologize, but 30%, 0 to 30 is requires, it costs money to serve that community. Can you speak a little bit to what your to where your operating funds will be coming from for the long term with the project?
Yeah, so before we submitted the proposal, we had a conversation with King County Housing Authority about being able to provide 100 Section 8 vouchers. They aren't able to commit to that far out right now, but what they're seeing is that HUD will be releasing a ton of vouchers nationwide here in the next year. They're looking at how many that the Housing Authority will receive. They are very interested in this project. They love the commitment from the city. They love the commitment of what we're trying to do here. They would be very excited if they get some of those vouchers to be able to work with us on this. So that's going to be a big portion of this, and this is for us to kind of go and carry that conversation with the Housing Authority to making sure that we can get 100 project-based Section 8 vouchers, and that will be a large chunk of our operating revenue. And I really probably should let the development team talk more about the pro forma, but I know that that's one of the big chunks of money for this project.
And are you also looking at Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements to pay for the nurse and some of the other related supports?
We do that today. It is the foundational community supports, and we've kind of spun up some of the building internally right now. I'm just going to be honest, it does not cash flow enough to pay for the nursing and the kind of behavioral health services that we would want to be able to provide. We have had a lot of success in terms of either pushing city, county, state in terms of some dollars there. We've done a lot of our own internal fundraising to help be able to support and build this program out. But for us, we have a commitment to being able to provide this, and we kind of work tirelessly to make sure that we provide the resources needed.
And if I may step in here for a second, I'm Elsa Kings. I'm with Arch. Arch is looking at some potential assistance for some operational services that we can capitalize to provide additional funding for any sort of additional cash flow that might be needed for these services that might not be covered through the King County vouchers, Housing Authority vouchers.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, I am not. Councilmember File?
Thank you. I'm assuming that this is also a good opportunity for educational partnerships, for internships and growing the network of need, serving the needs of the residents, and also, continuing that cycle of education and community enrichment. We do have some wonderful relationships with our surrounding universities of Bastyr University, University of Washington, Cascadia, and Lake Washington Technical Institute. So with so many wonderful behavioral health programs, medical programs, and nursing programs, I'm sure that we might be able to foster some really good internship opportunities and grow the service needs that need to be met for our community, who will be our new residents. So thank you so much. This has been a dream. I knew we could get there with Affordable Housing Trust and great partners. So thank you so very much. You're going to be an amazing asset to our community, and I couldn't be more proud to have you as our new neighbors. So thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All right. Well, I want to.
Sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to say we'll be back on June 21st with the full package for, we hope, council approval. So you'll see some additional information, including the capstone team at the University of Washington that we've been working with. They're finalizing their report, which will also be additional supplemental documentation that we'll be submitting in the fall for the state and county funding cycle. And we think that research and the efforts, we'll let you hear from them on the 21st, but we're delighted, and we think you'll be delighted too when you see their very professional report. So that's just a few weeks away. We look forward to that.
We look forward to it also. All right, I'm not seeing any further questions or comments. So since there's nothing more to come before us, Kenmore City Council stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good job.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Thanks, Plymouth team and